with Mona, who often refuses to make out with him. This is because Mona is someone with high aspirations, and she is also someone who meticulously schedules everything, including the time available for her to make out with Don. Don chooses to be patient and accept the circumstances of his life on the pretext of keeping the peace in his family. When it comes to their professional lives, Don works as a manager in a fairly large furniture store. The film begins by showing a beautiful and peaceful residential area, where a family who lives there appears to be an ideal family, happy and prosperous materially. The husband's name is Don, and his wife's name is Mona. They have 2 children named Allison and Andrew. In this family, Mona dominates with her overbearing attitude, and whatever she says must be followed. Their husband and wife relationship is very rigid, and everything must be programmed according to Mona's will. The days they go through are far from cheerful or intimate in the way that a healthy family should be. In fact, Mona has an excessive insecurity about her children, where she requires them to always be winners in everything, even if it must be achieved in a bad way. Any form of violation or disobedience will be fatal, and they will get serious punishment from her. Don is actually quite depressed and not happy with this situation, coupled with Mona, who often refuses to make out with him. This is because Mona is someone with high aspirations, and she is also someone who meticulously schedules everything, including the time available for her to make out with Don. Don chooses to be patient and accept the circumstances of his life on the pretext of keeping the peace in his family. When it comes to their professional lives, Don works as a manager in a fairly large furniture store. This shop was built with funds provided by Mona's parents, which means that Mona is technically the owner of the store. One day, the store holds a recruitment for new employees, and a woman named Dusty shows up for an interview at Don's shop. Don appears to have been attracted to Dusty from the moment they first met. Plus, Don's employee and neighbor named Lay expresses his joy by simply telling Don to accept the woman's application. He also explains that they need something to look at to take their minds off their stressed marriage. Meanwhile, there is a man appears to have just finished killing someone. He then watches the TV commercial for Don's furniture shop, which is currently airing. It turns out that this man and his gang have begun to follow Don and his wife's whereabouts and activities. Don, on the other hand, continues to spend boring days with his wife, and one of the gang members has been following him around to find out where he lives. Until one day, he finally manages to get away from it all by having an affair with Dusty. It is at this point which their relationship begins to deepen and become more intimate. Don and Mona's relationship becomes even less interesting as a result of this. Everything goes smoothly for Don at first, and he is able to keep his affair hidden from Mona. Until one day, when Don's family is holding a party, Dusty tells her really bad news for Don that she is expecting his child. As a result, Don is completely taken aback to know about this, since Dusty has taken pregnancy design pills before. Dusty also refuses to abort the pregnancy because she really wants to have children. Plus, she keeps urging Don to take responsibility for their wrongdoing. Don then goes to meet Lay and asks him for some advice about Dusty's pregnancy. As most people would do, Lay suggests to Don that he give Dusty some money in exchange for her silence, and for her to leave Don's life. Lay believes that women such as Dusty are the types of gold diggers, who have a proclivity for blackmailing well-established men like Don. And what Lay said is actually true, because it turns out that Dusty is a lover of a gangster named Murphy, the man we saw earlier. In other words, Murphy assigns Dusty the task of luring well-to-do men, so that they can take some of their wealth. However, this time it seems that Dusty really likes her target. Long story short, Don follows Lay's advice and he then gives Dusty $13,000. Don then asks her to put an end to their relationship and not to see him again in the future. But Dusty refuses because she feels like she is being treated like a whore. At this point, Don is really worried that his mistake would destroy his household, the loss of his children, and of course Mona would act out of control. Worse yet, the extortion does not stop there because $13,000 is not enough money for Murphy. So he now orders Dusty to ask Don for more money, and this time he asks for a larger sum of $25,000. The only problem is that Don has absolutely no money left, and is baffled as to what he should do about Dusty, who continues to blackmail him. Since he has no other choice, Don finally decides to take the risk of being honest with his wife, and tell Mona everything he has done.
What did you do? What is it?
Well, it's not easy to feel like that.
Spit it out.
I've been having an affair at the store with Dusty, the sales girl.
Surprisingly, Mona looks a bit calm and responds in a way that Mike doesn't anticipate. Instead, she asks whether Don still loves her, to which Don responds that he loves her and their children very much, and would do anything to correct his mistake. Well, it won't be that simple, as Don will still have to deal with his wife's rage, where Mona begins to bring up everything she's done, as well as all the opportunities she and her parents have provided him. This is the point at which Mona begins to reveal the darker side of herself, by ordering Don to kill Dusty in order for her to stop extorting Don's money. Mona asserts that anyone who dares to interfere with the integrity of her family will die at her hands. Dusty then calls Don for the $20,000 cash, which Mona tells him to accept. At this point, Mona begins to give Don two choices: either divorce, which means Don will lose his wife and children, or the second choice is to follow Mona's instructions to kill Dusty. He is now thinking how he could possibly have the heart to kill someone, but on the other hand, he is also afraid of losing the family he loved. The following day, Mona continues to put pressure on her husband to commit the murder, before Dusty will comes to the office at night to collect the money. Plus, she's even prepared a high-dose drug that will be used to put an end to Dusty's life. Mona is also angry to see Dusty is afraid, and convinces him to fight the people who are trying to destroy their family. Therefore, Don, who has no other option, is forced to follow Mona's plan, and he begins to think of a way to start the action. Later that day, Dusty then comes and is greeted by Don, by giving her a drink that has been drugged. As Dusty drinks a glass of it, she starts to feel strange seeing Don behaving in a weird way. Soon after, Dusty eventually realizes that she has been drugged, and collapses as the chemical in her body starts to react. Mona then appears and tells him to place Dusty into the trunk. As they get home, Don still can't bear his fear to begin their next action, and he is shocked to see Dusty, who is still alive. Mona, however, laughs to see this and tells Don to go get the hammer. Don then gives the hammer to Mona, but instead, Mona tells Don to do it to correct his mistake. Don, who is afraid, explains that he is really unable to do so, so Mona tells him to open the trunk and lets her do it.
Trunk.
After that, Dusty's body is taken into their garage for Mona to begin dismembering Dusty herself. Don can't bear to see all of that and rushes to the toilet, where he only surrenders to everything that's going on and throws up. Murphy, on the other hand, is growing suspicious because Dusty has been missing for several days with no word from her. The next day, when Don comes home from work, he is panicked after seeing Murphy talking to his son outside the house. It turns out that Murphy tells Don to meet him, where he wants to inquire about Dusty's whereabouts. When Murphy meets Don at a club, Murphy immediately asks where Dusty has disappeared. At this point, Don can still tell the lie that he gave Dusty the money, and that he has no idea where Dusty has disappeared to. Since Dusty has gone with the money, Murphy pushes Don to give him $20,000 by tomorrow, or else he will do bad things to his wife and child. After the meeting, Mona tells Don that they must dig Dusty up again, and go to the house of Dusty and the gangsters. At this time, Mona has a plan to deal with the gangsters during the night. Don and Murphy will meet again in a club. As she arrives in front of the house, Mona proceeds to break into the gangsters' house, and no one is there since they're already in the club. Mona then places something in the refrigerator which turns out to be Dusty's body parts, including the part of her head that she had beheaded some time ago. Not long after, one of the gangsters came with a woman, and Mona quickly kills them with a kitchen knife she took from the house. Once Mona has left the house, the guy who is still alive calls Murphy and tells him about what has happened at their house. Mona, on the other hand, takes the undercover phone and calls the police to report the disturbance coming from Murphy's house. As soon as Murphy hears this, he rushes to the house, where he is shocked to see all the chaos that had been done by Mona in his house. He also discovers the remains of Dusty's body, which Mona had placed in the refrigerator. It is at this moment that Murphy finally realizes that he has been trapped by Mona, with all the evidence of murder that points to it. At the same time, the police arrive, and his man is shot to death by them. But Murphy manages to sneak away to beneath the house through a secret door. One night, Don, who is curious about all his wife's doing, tries to ask Mona about her past. He thinks that Mona may have experienced a traumatic or tragedy event as a child that has influenced her current behavior. With Don's question, Mona's reaction takes an unexpected turn and becomes very emotional. Mona says that her parents are perfect and have never hurt her. She then swears that if Don dares to ask that question again, she will murder and mutilate him just as she did to Dusty. After all of that incident, Don is now forced to live a life full of paranoia and worry after hearing the threats from Mona earlier. Mona's madness is also getting worse, where she's planning to get rid of Leigh's son, who has a large physique and often beats her son in all games. The following day, the police came to Don's house and informs him of the death of his employee named Dusty. The police also says that they managed to catch the culprit, but one of them is still missing. But that's not the point. The point is that someone reported that Don had been to the lodge at Dusty's house. Therefore, Don eventually has no choice and confesses to the police that he was having an affair with Dusty. And Dusty's boyfriend asked Don to pay for it so that Don's actions wouldn't be exposed to Mona. The cop understands Don's situation, and sarcastically says that he doesn't want to find another dead body if Mona finds out. During their conversation, a neighbor's dog suddenly enters their garage, and causing Mona to become irritated. Mona then gives them such a warning of what she will do if she catches the dog on her property again. During Andrew's birthday celebration, Don discovers that the neighbor's dog has been killed and placed in the refrigerator. They are also having a good time with a friendly competition between Andrew and Leigh's son, but Mona notices that Andrew is struggling to win the game. As a result, she becomes angry and says that the competition is unfair because she thinks Leigh's big son has been taking steroids. Don also sees Mona insulting the child's mother who is suffering from Crohn's disease, and Mona wishes her to shit herself to death. The moment Allison notices that her brother is having difficulty, she quickly grabs the stick and smashes the unicorn until it is crushed. We can see that Allison is Mona's favorite child, and Mona always treats her better than Andrew. Seeing how his son is treated makes Don sad, and he believes that in the future, his daughter Allison will become more and more like Mona. Finally, he decides that it is time to end all of madness from his wife. He then shut off the electricity in his home garage lamp to create an electrical short that would result in a spark. After doing some test, he opens the gas cylinder valve to let the gas escape and fill the garage. He then asks his wife to go to the fridge at garage and get him some beef, while Don will check on the grill. As Mona is making her way to the garage, Don quickly gets out of there and walks away as if nothing is going on. Meanwhile, Mona is in the garage, and when she opens the lamp, an electric spark appears. As a result of the spark, the garage, which had been filled with gas, explodes, and killing Mona. After it is all over, Don is now living in a new house while enjoying the treasure left to him by his wife. He and his children are now living happily without any rules from his wife, including the fear of being killed by her. But the movie isn't over yet, because the police haven't found Murphy, the person who ran away from the house earlier. We can see that Murphy is following Don's car from behind, and the film ends during the credits with the sounds like Don has been shot twice by Murphy.